Well, it's been a pretty interesting set of videos on the urinary system. Now, it's kind of tricky because we're getting a lot of terms that we haven't dealt with before, and it's just a lot of new area. Critical area, though, of eliminating and reabsorbing and what we're doing with all these body fluids. Couple more questions for your test, and then I want to come back and talk about a real important area here. Which vessel directs blood into the glomerulus? Okay, which vessel directs blood into the glomerulus? And that's the afferent arteriole. Okay, A-F-F-E-R-E-N-T, and then arteriole is A-R-T-E-R-I-O-L-E. Okay. Now, hey, I will get my camera person to come in real quick, and we'll wait on the camera person. Could you zoom in on this for me? I'm sorry, I don't have. Okay, I want you to get this down in your notes first of all, and you can see why. Okay, do you want to read that to him? No. Okay. Well, let me just make sure you got it down in your notes, and let me explain it. All right. Now, what's interesting is when we look at this, we're going to talk about what's the factor here, and the factor is the blood pressure drops. So we have so many things adjusted and regulated. Now, the nice thing is you guys can freeze this and get this. If you didn't have time, you can go back and freeze it. So we're going to stop right there. But okay, so I saved that for the end here. Okay, I saved that for the end because I want to talk about that. Okay, renin. Okay, renin is this substance that's excreted by the kidneys, and I don't want to just say it's excreted by the kidneys. It's through the kidneys. We'll come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about renin. But renin is one of those control things that tells the organs what to do. Okay, your mind. You know, I can't say to my mind. I can't say, okay, so I want to turn my kidneys on, turn my kidneys off. No, that's the kidneys are working all the time. Okay, but what tells those kidneys? You remember earlier what tells those kidneys to that we need to absorb more or less? Okay, what are we going to keep more of the liquid? Are we going to convert it to plasma, or are we going to convert it to urine? Okay, we're going to pull more waste out. Do we need more water in the body? Do we need less water in the body? And this is kind of simple, but I want you to understand you just did this. So the apparatus secretes renin. Okay, secretes renin when what? When blood pressure drops. Why does blood pressure drop? Well, let's think about a garden hose, and we've got that garden hose, and the water is coming out. The water is coming out pretty good. All of a sudden, the volume of the water slows down. Okay, well, that's what happens with us when we don't have the right amount reabsorbed, when we don't have the right amount of liquid in the system. Okay, then the blood pressure drops. We literally have less liquid volume blood, okay, that's made up largely of the plasma, okay. So then that renin says, okay, the blood pressure drops, so then the renin says, oh, we've got to absorb more fluids. There are, if you are dehydrated and you're not getting any liquids, then the renin is saying, the body's saying, I got to remove these waste, and the kidneys are being told by the secretion of renin, you better hold on to all the liquids you can because we don't have enough in here. Okay, so blood pressure is critical. So that's why we can look at our blood pressure and tell a lot of things. Okay. Now I want to talk to you about something else, and I mentioned earlier that I would that I might come back and talk about this, and I thought at that time I need to explain to you. There's something called the sodium-potassium pump, and the sodium-potassium pump is critical for the human body. We talked briefly about it earlier, but the sodium-potassium pump it's one of those things that tells our body whether or not we need more electrolytes, less electrolytes, more water, less water. And so the total pump there. Now, once again, if you have that 13th edition, it's page 787. But as the blood flows through, okay, here goes a capillary. Once again, you know a capillary, small little blood vessel, not a big artery, not a vein going back, not a flat vein, not a round artery, but a capillary. These capillaries are all around the kidneys. Okay, that's why we said earlier, and I boy, I just cringed earlier because I just wanted to get into all this stuff, okay? But here's this nephron, and here's this, we say twisted because we've got all of these capillaries going around these nephrons, and so the capillaries literally have the blood in them, so these little nephrons, we're able to put plasma back in the capillaries, or we're going to take waste out. So here's this blood coming through. It would be kind of like it's raining, the water goes into a river, and then the river breaks off into all these little tributary areas here, okay? It's still connected to the major river. So these capillaries are coming off of the bloodstream, okay? So we're going to clean that off. So here's all these twisted capillaries, okay, that are attached back to the bloodstream. The neurons come in. They decide whether or not they're going to add, okay? They decide whether or not they're going to add more plasma back into the blood, or they're going to take more of the waste out. Now, how does it do that? Okay, well, it's really easy, okay? It's really easy. If we have more sodium, okay, if we have more sodium, all right, the more sodium we have, the more we're going to reabsorb, the more we're going to keep the water, okay? If we have more potassium, the more we're going to get rid of water. Wow. So if your body doesn't have enough potassium, okay, and you know, we talk about bananas having potassium. Well, a lot of things have potassium. Well, we have a certain amount of sodium and potassium in our body. Okay? We have a certain amount of sodium and potassium. Does it stay the same all the time? The answer is no. Okay? So we have to look at the sodium content in our body. Well, where do we, what's a big deal for sodium? Well, it's salt. Sodium chloride. It's a big one. Okay? So what did we say? More sodium, okay? More sodium does what? More sodium puts more what? Puts more back into the plasma. More sodium means more into the plasma. Okay, so when we have more salt in our body, we absorb more water. Is that bad? No, not necessarily if we're in balance. Okay, but what if we've got too much sodium in our body? Then we do what? Then if we've got too much sodium, we're one of these people that have taken in tons of salt, and even if you don't put a lot of salt on with a salt shaker, you need to look, say, okay, hey, how much salt's in that hamburger that I bought at Whataburger? Or I'm not knocking Whataburger. Whataburger's like anywhere else. But where is all this salt coming from? Is it coming from pickles? What's the sodium count? What's the potassium count? If I have too much sodium, what am I going to do? I'm going to keep too much water in the plasma. Okay, I'm going to keep too much water. Now, what if I don't have enough potassium? If I don't have enough potassium, then I'm not going to get rid of enough waste. All right? So why do I get leg cramps or cramps in any muscle in my body? Okay, I get cramps in my jaw or my fingers sometimes. Okay, if I don't have the right amount of sodium, right amount of potassium, it's because the electrolytes, okay, and when we make a synapses and send this down a neuron, okay, we send this down a neuron and we send this information back and forth to the brain. We have these, we have things like acetylcholine. We have other neurotransmitters that require a certain amount of electrolyte, and this is all adjusted in the kidneys. Isn't that amazing? So if the kidneys have more sodium, okay, then what's it going to do? More sodium means keep more water. All right. Now, if it has more potassium, what's it going to do? Release more water. All right. So then all of a sudden, it's got to adjust itself. The sodium-potassium pump is critical in every cell of your body, as well as in the kidneys, as well as in the bloodstream, because more sodium means what? Keep more plasma fluid. Okay. More potassium means release more. So if our sodium-potassium pumps out, people can check your blood pressure. They can tell if your blood pressure is too high. There are other factors. Okay, it could be that we have some plaque, or it could be we have some cholesterol that's causing the plaque in our arteries. Could be that we're just, instead of going through a big deal like this, we're going through a smaller area like that. That can cause higher blood pressure. But it could be that our kidneys are allowing too much liquid to stay in the body. So once again, I want to go over that. Sodium-potassium pump is critical. Our kidneys actually filter off. We eat all this salt and we eat all this potassium and we do all these different things. And our kidneys actually try to adjust all this. They're like, oh, we've got too much sodium, too much potassium. But the point at which we go overboard and we get more than we can filter off, okay, or more than we can break down, then we affect the sodium-potassium pump, which is critical for humans. Well, for any animals, actually. So, we're going to call it quits there with the urinary system. And as you can tell, the kidneys were sure by far the leading star in this, and they were kind of the big thing. But urinary system's a pretty big thing. Good luck on your test. A lot of big terms in there. And really concentrate on the notes that we gave you. You'll be fine on the test. But I want you to really understand the urinary system to see the whole picture. So in honor of the urinary system, I'm going to say over and out.